The room went quiet when my mother said it. Not angry. Not loud. Almost practical. She leaned toward me in the kitchen and lowered her voice, like she was doing me a favor. She said my presence would embarrass my brother's rich bride. That I made people uncomfortable. That it would be better if I didn't come. I stood there holding my phone, still open to the wedding invitation I'd never accepted. No one corrected her. No one looked surprised. And in that silence, I realized something wasn't wrong with me. Something had been wrong for a long time. My mother didn't say it like an insult. That was the part that stayed with me. She said it the same way she reminded me to bring a sweater or lock my car. Calm. Practical. Certain. As if excluding me was simply the responsible thing to do. My brother's wedding had been the center of our family for months. The venue was expensive. The guest list carefully curated. My brother talked about it like a business merger. His fiancée came from money. Real money. The kind that shows up in where you vacation and how you talk about college. My mother loved her immediately. I noticed how early things shifted. Conversations stopped when I entered the room. Seating plans were discussed without me. My mother asked my opinion on flowers, then ignored it. When I offered to help, she said everything was handled. I told myself it was normal. Weddings are stressful. People get weird. The first clear sign came at a family dinner. My brother joked about how awkward I could be. He said it lightly, smiling, like it was a shared memory everyone enjoyed. His fiancée laughed. My parents laughed too. I smiled because that's what I've always done. No one said anything after that. The joke just sat there, accepted. Later that night, my mother pulled me aside. She said the bride's family had certain expectations. She said appearances mattered. She said people might misinterpret my quietness. She said she didn't want anyone feeling uncomfortable. I asked her if she meant me. She paused, then nodded. That was when she told me it might be better if I didn't attend the wedding at all. Not because I'd done anything wrong. Just because I was me. She framed it as protection. For everyone. I remember standing there, noticing how clean the kitchen counter was. How her voice stayed even. How my father kept watching TV in the other room, pretending not to hear. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't ask her to reconsider. I just said okay. The next morning, my brother texted me about something unrelated. Work. Small talk. He didn't mention the wedding. He didn't ask if I was coming. He already knew. That hurt more than what my mother said. Over the next few weeks, I watched the preparations from a distance. Group chats I wasn't in. Photos I saw after the fact. My mother posting updates online about how perfect everything was coming together. No one asked how I felt. No one checked in. At work, people asked if I was excited for my brother's big day. I nodded. I didn't explain. I didn't correct them. I let them assume I'd be there, smiling in the background. The invitation stayed on my kitchen table, unopened. Every time I passed it, I felt something tighten in my chest. Not anger. Something duller. Like a confirmation. I started thinking back. About other moments that felt similar. Birthdays where plans changed last minute. Holidays where my schedule was the most flexible, so I was the one expected to adjust. Jokes that always landed on me. Decisions made, for my own good. It was never one big rejection. It was dozens of small ones. The wedding just made it impossible to ignore. A week before the ceremony, my mother called to remind me to stay home that day. She said parking would be a nightmare anyway. She said she'd bring me leftovers. I thanked her. After the call ended, I sat on my couch for a long time without moving. I wasn't planning anything. I wasn't plotting. I just felt myself pulling back. Quietly. Completely. Something inside me stopped trying to belong. And once that happened, I knew I wouldn't be able to pretend anymore. The day of the wedding came and went without me. I didn't wake up early. I didn't check my phone for updates. I went to work like it was any other Saturday. I answered emails. I sat through a meeting. I smiled at a coworker who asked about my weekend plans. I said I was keeping things low-key. That afternoon, my phone buzzed once. A photo notification. My mother had posted a picture of herself and my brother, both dressed perfectly, standing in front of the venue. The caption talked about family, love, and new beginnings. I stared at it longer than I meant to. No one mentioned me in the comments. No one asked where I was. It was like I had been edited out before the day even started. That was when the pattern became impossible to ignore. This wasn't about the wedding. The wedding was just the cleanest example. I thought about college, when my parents encouraged me to choose the cheaper school so my brother could transfer later. I thought about the years I stayed close to home because family comes first. The times I covered holidays so others could travel. The way my availability had always been treated like a resource. I remembered how often decisions were made around me, not with me. Silence had been useful. It kept things smooth. It kept everyone comfortable. Especially them. I realized something uncomfortable that afternoon, sitting alone with my lunch at my desk. I had never been included by default. I was included when it was easy. When there was a seat left. When help was needed. When someone needed understanding. When reputation entered the room, I was the first thing removed. The wedding made that clear. My mother texted later that evening. She said everything went beautifully. She said she hoped I had a nice day too. She added a smiley face, like that made it softer. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I opened my calendar and started noticing things I'd never questioned. How often I had blocked time for family emergencies. How often I rearranged my life without being asked. How rarely anyone did the same for me. It wasn't cruelty. It was expectation. They expected my flexibility, my understanding, my silence. I had trained them well. That night, I went home and put the wedding invitation in a drawer. Not as a keepsake. As a marker. Proof of the moment I stopped telling myself stories about misunderstanding and good intentions. I wasn't angry. That surprised me. I felt clear. Clear that I wasn't dramatic. Clear that I wasn't awkward. Clear that I wasn't difficult. I was expendable. And once you see that, you stop trying to earn a place you were never meant to have. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't announce boundaries. I didn't make a speech about respect. I just stopped offering myself up. The next time my mother called with a favor, I let it go to voicemail. The next time my brother needed something real quick, I said I was busy. The next family gathering I wasn't invited to, I didn't ask why. Something shifted quietly. Not in them yet. In me. The boundary was crossed on a Tuesday afternoon. Nothing dramatic. No raised voices. No confrontation. Just an email. It came from my mother, sent to both me and my brother. She wrote it like a summary. Practical. Efficient. She explained that since I hadn't attended the wedding, it made sense for me to help in other ways. She asked if I could take on a few ongoing responsibilities. House sitting when they traveled. Helping with paperwork. Being available. Just in case. There was no apology in the message. No acknowledgement of what had happened. Just an assumption that I would step in where I always had. I stared at the screen for a long time. In the past, I would have replied right away. I would have said yes, then figured out how to make it work. I would have told myself that this was what family did. That I shouldn't hold grudges. That it wasn't worth causing tension. This time, I didn't feel any of that. I felt finished. Not angry. Not hurt. Just done asking for a seat at a table that had already decided where I belonged. I closed the email without responding. That was the boundary. Quiet, invisible but real. Later that week, my brother called. He didn't mention the email directly. He never did when he wanted something. He talked about work, then casually brought up how busy things had been since the wedding. He said it would really help if I could be around more. I listened. I let him talk. When he paused, waiting for my agreement, I said I couldn't. He laughed at first, like I was joking. I repeated it calmly. No explanation. The silence on the other end of the line stretched longer than usual. He asked if everything was okay. I said yes. He said okay, then ended the call quickly. That night, I noticed something new. No follow-up message. No attempt to convince me. No reassurance. Just distance. It was subtle, but it confirmed what I already knew. My value had always been tied to my availability. When that disappeared, so did the interest. I didn't try to replace it. I didn't rush to explain myself. I let the space exist. For the first time, I wasn't asking to be understood. I wasn't asking to be included. I wasn't asking for approval. I was opting out. And once you stop asking for belonging, people reveal how conditional it always was. I didn't announce my withdrawal. I didn't explain it. I just became unavailable. Not dramatically. Not all at once. I answered messages later. Then not at all. I stopped rearranging my schedule. I stopped filling in the gaps they left open for me by default. Nothing collapsed immediately. That's what people don't understand. When you step back quietly, the damage doesn't show right away. It shows up in missed details. In small mistakes. In the things you used to catch before anyone else noticed. My mother forgot deadlines she'd always relied on me to remember. My brother missed paperwork that used to somehow get handled. Family plans became messy, disorganized, tense. No one blamed me directly. They blamed stress, timing, each other. I watched it happen from a distance. My mother called once, sounding confused rather than upset. She asked if something was wrong. I told her I was just busy. She accepted that answer the way she always had. Quickly. Conveniently. At work, my life got quieter in a good way. Evenings opened up. Weekends felt longer. I realized how much of my energy had been going into managing other people's comfort. A few months later, I heard about the cracks secondhand. A friend of the family mentioned my brother seemed overwhelmed. Someone else said my parents were frustrated about feeling unsupported. The tone wasn't angry. It was surprised. They had mistaken my silence for permanence. No one reached out to apologize. No one acknowledged the wedding. The exclusion remained unspoken, like it had never happened. That was the final clarity. They weren't cruel. They were comfortable. And my discomfort had always been the cost of that comfort. I didn't need an apology anymore. I didn't need them to understand. I had already moved forward. The last time I saw my mother, she commented that I seemed different. More distant. She said it like an observation, not a question. I nodded. I didn't explain what distance protects. I didn't explain what silence can become when it's chosen instead of imposed. I just let her sit with it. I'm not estranged. I'm not reconciled. I exist outside the role they built for me. And that's enough. Some people mistake access for entitlement. They don't realize what they lose until it's no longer available. By the time they noticed, I was already gone.